Salutations, survivors. Get the spent bullet casings out of your intake and weld your fenders back on, because today we're slamming head-on into Crossout.
If you can't tell by that intro, I enjoy this game, like, a lot. Crossout is self-described as a post-apocalyptic MMO action game. It's not technically wrong, it is post-apocalyptic and it's definitely an action game, as broad of a genre as that is, but an MMO, well, MMO stands for massively multiplayer online, which it is, but not in the traditional sense, not in the same vein as WoW or Guild Wars. It's more an MMO in the same way that Call of Duty is an MMO. There's a sentence I never thought would leave my mouth. Okay, but seriously, it's not the type of game you think of when you hear MMO. As amazing as an MMO with Crossout's vehicle building and world would be, it's not. Gameplay consists of 8v8 PvP battles and 4-player co-op raids, not a large open world with quests and classes and all that nerd shit. Here's some rapid-fire info. Crossout hit open beta in May of 2017. It is available free to play on PC, Xbox, and PS4. It's published by Gaijin Entertainment, which are known for Star Conflict and War Thunder, and developed by Targum Games. Targum has a history with vehicular combat games, Crossout actually being based in the same universe as the 2005 PC title Hard Truck Apocalypse. Crossout has a story and lore, but it takes a back seat to the ridiculously fun and explosive gameplay. In short, in the year 2027, a plague spread across the planet, wiping out pretty much all life on it. This plague was called the Crossout. This happened due to a multi-millennia eugenic experimentation that was being performed by aliens to try and create basically super soldiers out of humans. But they screwed up, did something they shouldn't have, and instead of creating super soldiers, they created mutant lunatics and maniacs. Yeah, that sounds completely ridiculous and almost contrived to try and not just create another generic apocalypse scenario, but I'll give them credit at least. It's different, and if Crossout ever takes steps to be more story-focused, it could be the grounds for an interesting story at least. But don't worry too much about the story or lore, because next to none of it is told to you in-game. I mean, pretty much everything I just summarized is taken off of the wiki, so let's get into Crossout's most interesting draw. The ability to craft and create your own vehicles from the frame up. Vehicle construction is simple, just create a frame big enough for your cab to sit on and attach some wheels to it, and boom, you have baby's first death race battle car. As you level up and unlock more parts, you realize the build system gets much more intricate, dealing with tonnage and mass limits, energy points, radiators, and properly positioning your armor to create the most devastating four-wheeled harbinger of death and destruction you can. The base of each vehicle are the cabs. These determine the base health, speed, mass limit, tonnage, and base energy points. The cab is the core of all cars, so obviously you want to protect it with as much armor as possible, as shooting the cab will deal double damage than shooting other parts of the car. The next most important bits are movement parts. So there's a variety of these available, to the standard wheels, to tank treads of varying sizes, to hover jets, and even crawler legs. You won't be seeing anything other than your standard wheels for quite some time, but like cabs, those have their own stats. Some are fast and light, others are slow but can handle more weight or are more durable. The medium wheel that you get fairly early in the game is pretty much the best jack-of-all-trades wheel until you're able to craft purple rarity wheels. Wheels are also separated by wheels that steer and wheels that don't. Just a heads up, as the game will totally let you ride into battle with a car that has no way of changing direction if you put the wrong wheels on it. There are also extra modules that you can add to your car to make it more proficient in certain ways. You can add radiators to increase the time it takes for automatic weapons to overheat, or a generator to increase the energy limit of your cab. You can also add ammo boxes to increase the number of rounds weapons with limited ammo have, like cannons or rockets. These come at a cost though. If enemies choose to target these extra bits, destroying them will cause them to explode, dealing splash damage to your car, blowing off almost all surrounding parts. You can also equip radars to increase how far you can see on your minimap, or an engine to increase your car's top speed or the amount of weight it can haul. There's also a part called a car jack that will just allow you to flip yourself back over if you happen to throw your metal death sled onto its roof. In the early game, every time you assemble your car without a car jack on it, the game will overly aggressively notify you that you don't have one. You don't really need one unless you have an incredibly top-heavy car. Don't worry about it. The game will automatically flip you back over after 30 seconds, or your allies can just drive near you and hit R and it'll get you back on all fours again. Armor is the most important part of any build, right after weapons of course. Armor has stats much like the rest of the pieces. Some are more durable but way more, others are weaker but lighter for faster cars. As you gain levels, you'll notice that you're getting pieces of armor that in the item description say they can be shot through, meaning damage will pass right through them. Why would you want armor that shit goes right through? Well, to mount your weapons on. All weapons have durabilities, just like armors do, and if you mount a weapon on top of a piece of armor, destroying that piece of armor will disconnect the weapon from the rest of your car, destroying it. Just an example, you mount a machine gun that has a durability of 150 to, let's say, a Vandor that has a durability of 20. If a player notices how it's mounted and targets the Vandor, it'll only take 20 points of damage to destroy your gun completely, versus mounting it on one of the pieces that can be shot through means they have to target the gun directly for its fur durability, or your cab. Although the best place to mount weapons is directly to the cab, as the cab has the highest durability of everything on the car. I guess this is a little bit of a guide and a review, no matter, I like hearing myself talk. But don't worry, if you're not the creative type or you're just having trouble wrapping your head around the system, there are two options available to you to get pre-built cars. First is the vehicles you get from leveling up your factions. These cars usually reflect their corresponding factions using their cabs, weapons, and armors. The next, and more fun, is the game's exhibition. The exhibition is where other players can upload their creations for other players to both test drive and assemble themselves. You can sort by the most downloaded or most liked, and also tick a box that will only show you vehicles you have the parts to assemble. You can also find some incredibly silly creations here. Talking about weapons, there's a huge range of them, to machine guns, to shotguns, cannons, autocannons, rockets, miniguns, chainsaws, crossbows, flamethrowers, artillery cannons, explosive lances, drones, mines, gas cans, railguns, and a combine-style harvester that looks like it was stripped right out of Borderlands. And that's not even going into the different variations of those weapons. So yeah, you have a lot of options on how you can pick apart your enemy's cars piece by piece. That's what's so alluring about Crossout's combat, not only the wide variety of weapon types, but the ways that you can approach combat. Upon engaging an enemy car, you're faced with several options. You can target and destroy the weapons, turning your opponent into a non-threat unless they decide to self-destruct on your car. If the weapons are well protected or have a high durability, like larger cannons or melee weapons, it may be a smart play to target the wheels, eliminating their ability to steer or even move at all, rendering them a complete sitting duck at the mercy of you and your allies. Alternatively, you can target those modules I mentioned earlier. If they're exposed, you can destroy a radiator or a fuel barrel to land a good amount of damage to surrounding parts. I forgot to mention fuel barrels earlier. Each day you have an allowance of 200 fuel. Fuel acts like energy in other games, and limits the amount of times you can do raids a day. Strapping a fuel barrel to your car, winning and surviving the match, will net you fuel that gets sent to your inventory. With this fuel, you can either use it to refill your fuel allowance for the day, or sell it on the market to earn some coin, as there are plenty of endgame players looking to buy more so they can farm raids. It adds an interesting dynamic to battles and combat. You can install a fuel barrel to help you earn resources and coins, which will make you play more carefully and skillfully, as again, you need to survive and win to earn said fuel. But it also makes you extremely vulnerable, as someone blowing up that fuel barrel will pretty much split your car in half and spell game over. There's really only one type of PvP game mode, although every now and then there's special events that set everyone in the exact same vehicles, and sometimes have unique rewards, like the one currently going on that puts everyone in tanks and has a ranking system that awards you with decorative parts. There's also a Battle Royale mode, but I'm almost positive no one plays it. I was in queue for like 15 minutes and I didn't feel like waiting anymore. The PvP battles are pretty much all 8 versus 8 point capture, but they usually just boil down to team death matches because you get more experience points that way. And that's not really a bad thing either, because it's much more fun. The reason it's so important to craft a good vehicle is that you only have your one life in these matches, which just makes combat more important. It makes it dangerous and adds genuine risk to the things you do, although if you do get taken out at the beginning of the match, don't be too upset. Maps are small, which means you won't have people hiding or camping, and all the matches are on a short yet reasonable timer, and rarely do you actually see the matches end because time ran out. Despite the wide variety of parts, cabs, wheels, and weapons, the matchmaking is pretty wheel balanced.
That was a genuine typo, but it's kind of a car pun, so I'm leaving it.
How it works is there are several power score brackets. You don't select a power score bracket when you queue for matches, it's all behind the scenes, just matching you with players with similar power scores. Sometimes a higher power score car will slip in, but it's usually due to the matchmaker extending its search because it's having trouble finding compatible players. Something you'll run across rarely is a high-level player trying to sneak a powerful weapon into low power score matches. They usually do this by having as low of a power score as possible, basically just duct taping the weapon to a cab that has enough energy points to support it and then throwing some wheels on. leaving them with no armor and being able to be killed in a couple of shots. So while they may get a cheap shot in at one of your teammates, once they make their presence known, they're dealt with rather quickly. The PvE content of Crossout comes in the form of 4-player co-op raids. They're separated into 3 difficulties, easy, medium, and hard, depending on the power score of your vehicle. These are all pretty simple and boring, but you'll need to do them to grind out your copper, which is needed to craft pretty much anything above white quality. The ones that are a lot of fun though are the Leviathan raids. I haven't talked about Leviathans yet. You might have noticed that big ass crawler sitting off to the side whenever I test drive something. You unlock the ability to craft your own Leviathan at level 17. Leviathans are massive vehicles having a part limit in the 200s and much more energy than your standard car. Unfortunately, the only way to drive your own Leviathan is through test driving, and there's no mode that lets you control it. The point of building your own Leviathan is to send it out to be what players fight in the Leviathan raids, and if it wins, it brings back resources. You can send it out once every 24 hours at no cost, so if you build a good one, it's basically a free resource generator. Alright, so I've talked so much about weapons, armor, and cabs, but how do you actually get them? There are 7 factions in the game. The Engineers, which is the main faction, its level is tied to your account level. And then there's the Lunatics, Nomad, Scavengers, Steppenwolves, Dawn's Children, and the Firestarters. Once you reach level 10, you gain the option to start leveling up an additional faction. Choosing a faction doesn't lock you out of the others. You need to level up these factions in order to be able to craft the parts associated with them, and eventually you'll want to level them all up. Each faction follows a theme. For instance, the Lunatics are all about getting up in your opponent's grills, specializing in close range and speed, featuring mostly shotguns and melee weapons. While the Steppenwolves are very militaristic, featuring APC parts and the faction that allows you to make that big-ass artillery cannon. When you unlock a faction, you also unlock co-drivers. Co-drivers are just a way to give your build that slight extra boost. Each faction has a co-driver corresponding to them that follows their theme again. Using the Lunatics as an example, if you can't tell I'm most familiar with them because it's the one I use the most, their co-driver will give you about a 2 to 5% boost to shotgun damage, durability, and reduced spread. To level up each of these co-drivers, just do battles and raids the same way you normally do. They gain experience at the same rate you do, and every 5th perk or so you'll have to spend resources in order to unlock that perk, but they continue to gain experience beyond that even if you haven't bothered to unlock it yet. Now, this next bit is controversial, and understandably so. You can directly pay for power in this game. No, not like some other games where you can buy an item off the store that will give a boost in some convoluted upgrade system. I mean, you can slide Gaijin your credit card and get some of the most powerful weapons in game. This also ties into the section where I talk about the market. The currency for the market is coins, and coins the cash shop currency. I don't think I have to explain why that's a problem. You can purchase coins directly or they come included in vehicle packs. There's also another problem in the coin packs. Since it's a player-controlled market, the in-game value of these coin packs are changing literally by the hour. So there's that. Touching on the vehicles in the packs themselves, not the coins included with them, I thought when I first started playing that the packs were unfair. I had assumed you were getting a unique vehicle that you can't get access to unless you pay, but that's not true because all of the parts included in these packs you can find on the market. Yes, the market adds a very obvious pay for power or pay to win element to the game, and if you want to write it off completely because you refuse to support those sort of business practices, I won't blame you. But allow me to maybe attempt to rationalize it. Look, maybe I'm just making excuses for Crossout because I really like it. I have fond memories of playing other vehicle combat games, Twisted Metal, Full Auto, or even Vigilante 8 if anyone remembers that game. But with a market system like this, it's just doomed for failure. Something this blatantly pay to win drives away so many potential new players. I say it like that because Crossout's a good game, but it's not incredibly popular. Not a lot of people know this game exists. There's not a whole lot of marketing for it. In a lot of ways, the popularity of this game reminds me of like Escape from Tarkov. I had never heard of Tarkov, and I found out about it through my friends telling me about it. Then once I started playing it, I realized there was a sizable community, but rarely did I ever hear about the game outside of its circles. It's a very similar situation with Crossout. But back to the market. Why am I okay with it? Why does the ability to pay for more powerful items not deter me from putting in the grind? Well, for 2 reasons. The first is quick and simple. The gameplay is fun, and it's much more satisfying for me to know that I put in the time and effort to create my murder machine myself. The second reason is a bit longer. I can't remember who I heard this simile from. Maybe it doesn't matter, because I really don't even remember what the video was about. Anyway, it doesn't bother me because it's like putting a toddler behind the wheel of a Ferrari. Credit to whoever the fuck said that. A player can hand Gaijin Wait, how much would you have to spend for one of the best weapons? Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go for the $100 pack because the bonus conversions get way too confusing. I don't feel like dealing with it, but I know that the most expensive weapons are more than 3,700 coins. So 3,700 coins equals $100. Got my calculator pulled up, go to the market, sort by most expensive. So the porcupine, the scorpion, and the firebug are all in the 30,000s. To get 30,000 coins. Where'd my calculator go? 30,000 coins. I mean, $200 will only get you half that. You'd have to spend like $410 to get a fucking mine layer. Anyway, someone can spend however much they want on a weapon, but remember, with the power score of those weapons or the cab or whatever that they buy, they're going to be thrown into a power score bracket appropriate for them. This could either be against nerds that spent money to get the powerful shit quick too, or against veteran players that have hundreds of hours played and will rock them just by having more experience and knowledge of the games and its systems. There are players out there that have vehicle building down to a science, knowing how to layer armors, what pieces offer the best armor to weight ratio. It goes deeper than you might realize, and a paying player with none of that knowledge will get absolutely rocked. So that's the way I rationalize it to myself. Like if it were possible for someone to buy the best greatsword armor and decorations in Monster Hunter World and get immediately tossed to Arch-Tempered Kirin. Sure, they'd have good enough gear to kill it, but without the experience of playing the rest of the game at their backs, they are doomed to get absolutely stomped. Although, if you see paying as the only way to get powerful items or are already a player and find the grind too exhausting, allow me to give you a quick tip. If you're looking for, in my opinion, the easiest way to earn purple rarity weapons is grinding out the daily and weekly challenges that award badges. With these badges, you can buy a crate that will contain a purple part. You can either sell it for a good amount of coins to buy something you actually want, or just have an easy, reliable way to get purples. So yes, you have to grind to get purple rarity parts, but it's not out of reach. But where are a few areas where I feel Crossout could improve? Well, if you didn't notice, I didn't do my dedicated sound or graphics section like I did in the past two videos, because I just wanted to jump into what made Crossout so great. So we'll start with sound. It's nothing fantastic, but it gets its points across. I think the sound design pretty much across the board could use some updating. I wish the vehicles just sounded better. It's not satisfying to mash the gas and not really hear much feedback. I want the loud roaring sounds of an abused V8 or the whining turbos of an old semi-motor. They can make it so your car could sound different depending on what engine you strap to it, or make it so the decorative exhaust pipes change the sound. Also the music. As badass as the intro cinematic is, none of that flavor of music is really found here. Music only plays in the garage, and there's a small tune at the conclusion of each battle. The matches have no music, and that's fine, that way there's no additional sounds to distract you. But the garage music, I mean, it's not a bad track on its own, it's just not what I would personally buy when I'm playing Mad Max Dress Up with my dune buggy. But at the same time, when I look up Crossout's soundtrack, I find fantastic songs that I've never heard in game. And those have been the background music for this video. So the experience could greatly benefit from bringing your own soundtrack. For the graphics, well, I don't really have to explain much because you've seen plenty of it throughout the video. They're also still being updated as the game is still in beta, so just recently they made some updates to improve how a couple of the darker maps look, making it so the glow from flames and gunfire are brighter and cast their light farther and in more detail. The biggest thing is I firmly believe Crossout needs to change the way it monetizes itself if it doesn't want to get written off because of the market. Crossout tried selling cosmetic skins for various weapons and cabs that changed their whole theme. For example, one turns the Steppenwolf's Hummer cab into something more befitting for the lunatics. Now, I think Crossout could actually find a decent amount of success in a Battle Pass type deal, something basically identical to what's found in games like Fortnite or Black Ops 4. It could feature crafting materials, stickers, paints, skins for the weapons and cabs again, cosmetic items for your rigs, or maybe even a weapon crate that contains a random blue weapon, although I would be hesitant to put anything higher tier than a blue weapon crate because then you get the pay to win argument again. Maybe they could make the garage space a base that you could actually edit and customize and include items like that in the Battle Pass. If they did it right, a Battle Pass in Crossout is something I would absolutely pay for. It would add another layer to why you're grinding. You wouldn't just be grinding for resources, but you'd be grinding the Battle Pass to earn the rewards included in it. On to our last bit, community. It may have just been the last update that broke something for me, but for some reason whenever I log into the game, I have to manually join general chat as opposed to the game dropping me in it. Small bug, no big deal, just an FYI for anyone that starts playing and thinks the chats are dead. General chat is pretty active. It's full of people sharing build tips, talking metas, and of course the usual political argument here and there. It's not uncommon to see GMs active in the general chat either, whether it was answering questions or policing or what have you, but they are there. In matches, people are either dead silent, or speak a different language, or are consistently yelling at you. Be prepared to see a lot of Russian in the chat. And of course, the usual toxicity that comes with every team-based multiplayer game, but that's neither here nor there. So, what is my final verdict on Crossout? Absolutely play this game. It's unique. There's no other games like this on the market right now. The vehicle building is simple, easy to pick up, but deep at the same time. It's a lot of fun to play with friends and build ridiculous creations. I couldn't get my buddy to come back and play for this review, but him and I have a vehicle that at the beginning of matches we combine together. It's basically like a truck and trailer combo. He has a square hole in the front of his frame, and I have a car jack mounted vertically on the rear of my truck. He rear ends me and ramps off the back and lands perfectly on there, allowing me to tow him around. It's pretty badass. This is one of those games where you're not really chasing an endgame. The game is building your car from a pickup truck someone hot glued a machine gun to Death Race's next top model. Because of the build system, each match feels unique. It doesn't get stale quickly. You're always going up against different enemies that battle unique to their vehicle's strengths. Although, there are some cons, of course. I can see the market being a big turnoff to a lot of people, and I won't argue that the pay for power element can ruin the spirit of building the most badass car possible when someone else can just pay for it. The lack of content variety, especially when it comes to doing raids and grinding out copper, can be incredibly boring. The community isn't super large. A lot of times, depending on what time you play, you'll have 2-minute plus queue times. Or if you re-queue right after a match, it might just put you back with several of the same people. I don't believe Crossout is dead or dying, I just again don't think enough people know about this game. I don't think I've ever seen marketing for this game like anywhere. I found out about this game through another YouTuber doing a first impressions. If it hadn't been for that, who knows if I would have found this gem. As I said, I want to see Crossout succeed. I want to see it become a big and popular game, and it has a good opportunity to because it's really the only game of its kind on the market right now. It's in a unique position of being unique, in a market where pretty much every other genre is oversaturated. So, share your thoughts on Crossout. Whether this video is your first time hearing of it, or you're a long-time player, I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you dislike the video, give it a thumbs down and tell me why. Also, I'd love to start doing follow-up videos to my longer reviews of games like this, taking your comments, questions, criticisms, and ideas for what could make Crossout a better game and responding to them. So if that's something that interests you, please let me know down below. If you like reviews and in-depth first impressions, consider checking out the other videos on my channel. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.